Sir, good morning. This is Sri.
Okay, now let's move on with what you call methods. What do you mean by methods? The method is nothing but it's a function. Okay, generally we call it as a function in other programming languages. When you talk about the object-oriented programming languages, we call it as a method. Now, what are these methods? Why do we define these methods? Means these methods we define to do some calculation purpose. Okay, so generally we define the methods or functions to do some activity. So to do some activity I want to do it. Okay, that is what you call actions. Some actions you want to define, you're going to define what you call a method you're going to define. Now when you say the methods, okay, how do we define the methods for us? So we define the methods using a syntax like this. So this is the syntax that will be following it for the method. Now what is that? So you need to tell what the method returns. That is a return data type. Okay, then the name of the method name, open the parenthesis, you are going to give the parameters. So what are these parameters? Parameter means the data that you are going to give for the function. Okay, then open the flower braces, then you'll be writing the statements. Okay, you'll write the statements. You'll be writing some statements. You'll be writing. Now, what statements I'll be writing there? I'll be writing the statements which will help me to complete that particular task or that particular activity. So, what the activity I'm defining to complete that particular task? What are the methods? What are the actions that are required? That is what you call the commands that are required. I'll be writing there. Understand what I'm telling? So what do you mean by method? Means methods we are going to define to do some kind of activity, some kind of actions you want to perform. You're going to write the methods you're going to define. When I'm going to define the method, so how I'm going to have the declaration of the methods and all. So first you'll be having the return data type, then you'll be telling what is the name of the method that you're defining, then open the parenthesis, you'll be giving the parameters. Now parameters is nothing but the data that we are giving for the function or for the method. Example, let us say I want to define a method. I want to define, okay, I want to define a method called greet. I want to define a method called greet. Okay, what is the use of this method called greet? Means this method called greet, which displays some message for me, displays some message. Okay, let us say better we say welcome message. I want to define the welcome message. Right, able to understand? So how I'm going to define this one? Now this method, what I'm going to define, so let us say the method doesn't return anything for us now. Now this method, it displays the message only, but it does not return anything. Okay, it doesn't return anything for us, or what you call nothing. It returns nothing for me. Then how I'm going to define it? When you say that nothing or okay, then what we do is we'll use the data type called void. Void data type means that it is not going to return anything there. Now how I'm going to define it? So I'll be defining void. The method name is greet. Then open the parenthesis, close the parenthesis. Then we said what? In the parenthesis, we are going to give the parameters. Now what is the data that you want to give for the function that you are going to define it? But here for my method, I don't want to give any parameters. So what I'm doing, I'm not giving anything there. I'm just opening the dummy parenthesis, closing the parenthesis, flower braces. Now, how do I display the message now? So if I want to print something out of the screen, we know that we use system.out.println or print or printf can be made use of. So that I'll be writing it. System.out.println or print or printf. What message you want to give? Okay, let us say I'll say welcome to Huddle Rise. Okay, I'm giving a message welcome to Huddle Rise. Then I'm closing it. Understood? I'm writing a message, welcome to Huddle Rise. That's a message that I'm going to write it on screen. Okay. And this message I want to print onto my screen. Then how we do it? Let's take the program. Now let's go to the our Eclipse. Okay. So in the Eclipse, I want to write that one. So what I will be doing is, where do I need to define my methods? That's more important thing what you have to remember. Now you can define the methods inside the class. Okay, where I'm going to define my method. Now here I'll be writing the method void greet. Okay, right. Then, so what it is my function is going to do it. So it's going to just print a message for me onto my screen. So I'll write system.out.println println whatever the method you're going to write. I'll just say welcome to. This is my message that it has to print for me on screen. Now, how do I call that? So if I want to call that, okay, if I want to do that activity, what you are defined, then inside the main, you need to call that method, you have to call it. So how do I call that method? The name, what you are defined, that name you have to define it here and you have to call it. Now, remember, now when I'm calling this particular method called greet method, I'm calling it inside my main. So inside the main, you can call that particular method. Main is also one method for us. Now, when I call this command, okay, what you call greet. So what it will look, is there any method is there by name called greet or not? Then it will be calling that, it will be executing the code, what is there inside that code, whatever the code you are written there, that will be executed. But here we are having one small problem here. As our main is what? It's a static method. Main is a static method. So if I want to call this greet method, if I want to call it, then how I do is, first, you cannot directly call that method name. What you have to do is, you have to create the instance of the class has to be created. What is the class name here? Read marks. So first you need to create the instance of that one. So how do I create the instance of this one? Read marks, some object name. I'll be using an object called obj is equal to new, okay, read marks. Right, the object I'm going to create, this is my object, okay, or what you call instance. So this is the, you call it as an object or you call it as the instance of the class. Then once you create the instance, then what you can do, you can use that object, okay, dot that class, that method name, you can use it to call that. Understood now what I'm telling? I'm using the object name dot method name. I'm using it. When I'm using object name dot method name, that will call that particular method for me. Understood? You understood there what we are doing? So if I want to call the method, okay, called greet method, I want to call that. So what you have to do is, you have to create the instance of the class, and then using the instance of that particular class, you can call that method. You can call that method. So how I'm going to do it? So I'm going to create the instance, that is class name, some object name is equal to new read marks I'm going to write. Then to call this method called greet method, I want to call this. Then what I'm doing, the object name, whatever the name you have defined it, dot greet, you'll be writing it. That will call that particular method for me. Understood? Now let's execute the code and check. Now it's what it is going to do for me. I'll just run this code. So when I run this code now, you see that it's going to give me a message, welcome to Huddle Rise. You got it there? You understood there? So what happens, we know that the program execution starts from main, that is my line number 8 onwards, it starts execution. After that, inside the main, we are creating the instance, and then, so using the instance, what you're doing it, you're going to call that particular method called greet method, you're calling it. Understood there? Any questions here? What I'm doing is I'm using my source options, and then I'm asking to format so that it gives me the pretty look. Its look is going to be pretty for me. That's it. Okay. Now what we are doing it here. So we are going to write a program. We are going to define a method called greet, right? And use or call it in main. Understood? I'm going to define a method called greet, and then I'm calling it inside the main method. So we said what? The function doesn't return anything for us. Okay. So the function is not going to return anything for us. So when we say that the function doesn't return anything, what we're doing, we are writing it as void. Okay, if you want your function to return something, then you need to define what the method is going to return. Understood? You need to define what the method is going to return for us. Is it going to return an integer value? It's going to return a float value. It is going to return a string value. What you have to, what the function is going to return, that you need to define it if you want to have the return values. So the return values we'll discuss one by one. So any doubts over here? The simple thing. Just we have taken one simple method we are defined. Okay. Remember, we are going to define the method. So what we are going to do? First, return data type, then name of the method. Okay, then so what the method is going to do for doing that particular actions, whatever the commands that are required for me, all those commands I need to write here. Okay, inside these two flower braces, that is my opening flower brace and closing flower brace. You need to write all the commands, whatever you want to do the work there. So based upon your requirement, you define the different types of methods you'll be defining it. Okay now, so any questions? Okay, so let us take another example we'll take now. Now, I want to define a method. Okay. So what is the name of the method means? I want to define a method called big. I want to define the method called big. So this method called big, what it does is it takes two numbers for me. It takes two numbers as the arguments. Okay. It takes two numbers as the arguments, or what you call parameters. Okay. Understood? Now, after taking these two parameters, it prints me what the function does for me now. The function or the method prints the biggest number. Okay. Understood? The method prints the biggest number for me. Understood what I'm telling? You understood what I said? Then, okay, looking into the syntax, what is the syntax for us? Return data type, method name, parameters. So what is the name of the method? Big. We define it as big. So what the method returns? We didn't tell anything, right? Okay, let's add that the method doesn't return anything. Now it's not going to return anything for me. Then, so when I say it doesn't return anything, what you'll write? You'll write it as void. What we said, the method takes two numbers as the argument. Now, what number you want to pass? We said numbers are of two types. One is numbers with the decimal point, numbers without decimal point. Now, I want to use numbers with the decimal points or without decimal points. It is left to me. It's my choice. It is. No, I want to use the numbers without the decimal point. Okay, that is integers I want to have. Two numbers we said int a comma int b, you will be writing. So when I'm passing two parameters as an argument, I have to say first parameter comma second parameter I have to give it. Understood? Any questions over here? See, anything you're not able to understand, you can just stop me and you can ask me the question. No issues in that. Okay. Then how to find out the biggest? How to find out the biggest number? You have to compare two numbers. You have to compare. So for that one, I'll check now. If a value is greater than b for me, then what do you want to do with? Okay, I want to print the a is the biggest. Otherwise, b is the biggest. Like that message I want to have it. Okay, let's go to the Eclipse. Then let's see how we are going to write that code. I'm not disturbing that one. I'll leave it as it is. So I'll say void. The name of my method is big. Okay. It takes two numbers for me, a and b as the arguments. Then I'm opening my flower braces. Then here I'm writing the code now. What I want to do, if a value is greater than b value, then I'm writing sys out. Okay, system.out.println I'm asking it to complete. Then I'll say a is big. Okay. Else. Now I'll just say system.out.println B is big, I'm writing. Okay. Now we know that how to call that method. So to call that method, what you have to do? First, you have to create the instance of the class, and then using the instance, you can call that particular method can be called. Now, I don't want to work with my greet method. Okay. I don't want to work with my greet method. Leave that one as it is. I'm making it as a comment there. So I want to use that object dot. Now, what is another method we have defined? Big. So big, it is going to give me two numbers, 10 and 20. I'm giving, okay, two numbers I'm passing it, right? So I'll run my code. So let's see what is going to happen. Now you see it says B is big. It is printing B is big, but it is not giving me number, which number it is. So what I do is, instead of using A is big, I'll write the A outside my double quotes, and then I'm adding the plus symbol for concatenation purpose, and then I'm printing it. So when I'm using like this, what will happen? It is going to print me the value of that variable it's going to be printed for. It's going to print me the value of the variable it is going to print. So what is that value? A variable value, what the value it is, 10 or 20 or whatever you're giving it, that will be printed. So let's execute once again and check. Now you see that 20 is big, it's going to print. Okay. So I'm going to use, once again, I want to have one more method. I want to have it. So what I do is obj dot big method of some other numbers I'll give 23. Okay, 10 I'll be giving it. So let us see this one. So what's going to happen? Now you see 23 is big, it's going to 10. You would understand what I'm telling? Any questions here? See, anything that you are not able to understand, please let me know. We want to define a method called big now, okay, and use it in the main. The big method, what it does, it takes two parameters for me. So example, I'm just writing there. Understood there? Any questions here? Any questions? So anything that you are not understood here? See, any number of times you call your program, it's going to use only 10, 20, it is going to use. For this one, 23 and 10 only, it's going to take. So any number of times you run the program, it's the same numbers it's going to take. And let me explain a little more on this one. So this is the variable, right? The value, you're going to give this value called 10. Now remember, this value 10 will be stored into this variable called A. This value 20 will be stored into the variable called B. You would understand what I'm telling there? So when we are going to write this, so what will happen is, you're going to give this value, right? 10 you're going to give it. So this value 10 will be stored in this variable called A. And then you have one more value, right? 20 is there. So this value 20 will be stored into this variable called B. Then internally what will happen? So you're going to have this A value, right? 10, and B value will be 20. So internally what will happen? It becomes, now the condition is 10 greater than 20 for this one. So when I'm calling this one, okay. So here what will happen? 10 greater than 20 it becomes. There instead of A, B, it becomes 10 and 20. So the condition will be checked as if 10 greater than 20 it becomes. Now when I'm using this 23, 10, if I'm using it, so if I'm using 23 and 10, that is this method, if I'm calling it, then what will happen? So here the condition will be what? 23 greater than 10 it will be. Okay, understood? Now, whatever the value that we are giving for the method, so those values will be given to that particular variables. Understood there? Whatever the values you are giving it, so those values will be stored to that particular variables, that is A and B variables it is going to put. The first value will be placed to the first variable, second value will be placed to the second variable. I'm going to use what? Comma as a separating character. the first value and second value. I'm using comma there. First value will be stored into the first variable. Second value will be stored into the second variable for us. Understood? Any questions here? Clear? Now for the first one, when I'm going to use this, so when I'm going to use for this, it is going to be 10 and 20 it is. So it's going to be 10 greater than 20. That is for this one. This is what I'm going to talk about. Okay. So a 10 value will be stored into the A and 20 value will be stored into B for the first call. For the second call, what will happen? 23 will be stored into A, 10 will be stored into B. Understood? So like this, so what happens? It's going to call the different methods, it's going to call it based upon the values that we are going to give. Understood? So any questions you have here, you can let me know it. So if you have any difficulty in understanding this. So any difficulties, any questions here? If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. Okay, fine. Now here, what we are doing is, I'm giving the value here, 10, 20, I'm giving it. No, I don't want like that. I want to read the values from the user and I want to pass the data to my function. Then, so if I want to get the data from the user, what we need to do? We'll be using the scanner class, we'll be using it. So I'll call the scanner class. Scanner class, some object you can use it. I'm using a variable called SSC. I'm using the object name is equal to new scanner. So when I'm going to use the scanner class, what I need to do, I need to use system.in as my argument for the scanner class. Then, so if I want to read the numbers, okay, so what I'm doing, I'll take two different variables. I'll take X, I will take. So this is going to be our first number. Then the SC object dot next int, I'll be writing it. Okay. So second, second number I want to have. So Y is equal to the SC object dot next int, I will take. So two values I'll be reading. Before I read the values, I want to give a message to the user that he has to enter the number. So I'll say system. Sorry for that. Sysout I'm using it. So I'll say type first number. Okay, then I'm reading it. Then again I'll write sysout there. Type second number. Okay, I'm reading both the numbers. I'm putting into the X variable and Y variable. Now instead of using 10, 20, I'll put the values of the X variable and Y variable. I'm going to use it. I'm using X, Y, I'm using it. So I'll not use this one. So this I'll remove it on screen. Okay, I saved my program. So let me execute now. So it asks me first number. I'll give 34. Second number it gives me 67. I'm giving. Now you see that it says 67 is big for me. Now in this case, what will happen? Whatever the value that is there for the first value I'm giving, that will be stored into the variable X. Right? Second value will be stored into Y. Then when I'm calling the big function, so what happens? The X value will be, in this case, what we are taken, some 57, 67, some numbers we are given it, right? So that number will be given to A variable. So X value will be transferred to A and Y value will be transferred to B form. Understood? You have to understand what I'm telling here. So when we are going to do this one, so the value of X will be stored into A. Right? So what about the B value for me? So the B value, Y value will be stored into B form. Understood? So internally when it is going to call, automatically X value will be given to A and B value, Y value will be given to B for us. Right? Yeah. Right? Any questions over here? Okay. Now let us have a little more understanding of these things. So what exactly we mean here? We are using two variables X and Y separately. Okay, in main program, we are using X and Y. And in the big method, we are using the variables A and B. Okay, we use different terminologies for this one. So what is the different terminologies mean? The variables which receives the value, this is called formal parameter. You understand what I'm telling? This is called the formal parameter. The variable which receives the value inside the function, it is called formal parameter. The variable which is used to call the function, it is called the actual parameter. You understand what I mean here? We are using two terminologies now here. So actual parameter and formal parameter. What do you mean by actual parameter? Actual parameter means the variable or the value that you are using to call the function. So when I want to call the function, I'm using some variable or some value I'm going to use. That is called the actual parameter. Getting it? We are going to have two different types of parameters. Now we are differentiating the parameters now. So one is called actual parameter. So what is this actual parameter? This is the parameter, or this is the variable or the value. This is a variable or value, okay, used to call the function. Okay, this is something which you're going to use to call the function. Understood? Okay, we are using one more parameter we talked about, what is called the formal parameter. You understood what is this? This is the variable. Generally remember, formal parameter will be only variable. It cannot be value. Formal parameter will be always variable. It cannot be value. Okay. So formal parameter is one. It's a variable which receives the value for us. Okay. We receive the value from the calling program. From the calling program. Okay. From the calling program. Where you're calling it, in the main, we are calling that method. So there we are going to pass some variable or you're giving some value. So that is going to be given to there. Okay. To the formal parameter. The formal parameter receives this, actual parameter sends the value for me. Understand what I'm telling? What do you mean by actual parameter and what do you mean by formal parameter? Okay. Any doubts? What is actual parameter? What is formal parameter? Getting it? So in our example, now yeah, sir. What's your question?
In this program, what is actual, what is formal? In the above, we have in the above code, what is actual parameter, what is formal parameter?
Okay, fine. We'll explain. Can anybody tell me? Others can tell me which is the actual parameter, which is a formal parameter.
X and Y are actual parameters.
Hmm?
X and Y are actual parameters.
Why X and Y is called the actual parameters?
Sorry, method number A and B అనేది పెట్టినాం కాబట్టి అది ఫార్ములా ఇక్కడ మనం కాల్ చేస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి X and Y.
What we said, the variables are the values which we are using to call the function. Function call cheyadaniki what variable you are using, which variable you are using, are the your parameter that we are using it to call the function, right? The parameter to call the function. Okay, it's called what? Actual parameter. The parameter are the variable which receives the value. Okay, it's called a formal parameter. So that means, so in my program, so A and B are called the formal parameters, X and Y are called the actual parameters. Okay. You're giving the values for X and Y. X and Y values internally will be transferred to A and B. You're using X and Y, okay, to read the values. In the main, we are reading the values using X and Y. And this one we are passing to big. So in big, what will happen? It is going to receive those two values. A and B is going to receive the value from X and Y for us. Okay. So any questions here? Understood now what is the actual parameter, which is the formal parameter here. So in this program, A and B are the formal parameters, X and Y are the actual parameters for us. Clear? Any questions? So we have a question from who was asking the question? Somebody was asking me a question. Can you tell me who was asking that question? Somebody was asking a question. What is that question? No. That question we have answered it. Now comes a question. Can I use A and B now? See, what we did is, here we are going to use the formal parameter A and B. Actual parameter I have taken X and Y. Now comes a question. Can we use both A and B only or both X and Y only? The question comes in. So is it necessary for me to have two different variables, X variable and A variable, B variable and Y variable? Is it necessary to have two different variables? The answer is no, not necessary that you should have two different variables are not required. You can have same variable. What I will do is, so I'll make this one also A. Okay, this one I'll make it as B. So then when I'm going to use this one, I'll make it as A, this I'll make it as B here. Right? Understood what I'm doing? I'm trying to use the same variable. Okay. So let me use some variable values, 34 and 22 are given. So it says 24, 34 is a big one. Understood now what I'm telling? The question comes in, is it the same variable can be used? The formal parameter, actual variable, actual parameter and formal parameter can be same. The answer is yes, you can have both as same. Not necessary that different parameters should be used. Different variables are not required. You can use the same variable can be used. Yeah. No. A will be acting as in big. When I'm going to define it, the concept remains the same as it is. There is no change in the concept. Here A and B will be acting as the formal parameters. Now here A and B acting as the actual parameter. Now there is no linking between these two now. Okay. So that here I'm having a variable, this variable is separate. Here I'm having another variable, this is separate. So actual variable, actual parameter is a different variable, formal parameter is a different variable. So those two variables are going to have it in two different scopes, you call it as. You call them as two different scopes. That is, that life is different, this life is different. Or the variable that you are defined in main will be available only up to the main. You are declaring a variable inside the main method. That variable will be available only to the main method. You are declaring a variable inside the big method. That variable will be only inside the main big only. Understood? You are declaring a variable. Any variable that I am declaring it, that will be made available only to that particular block for us. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll just stop the class again. You can. Okay. So here what we did is, so we used the return values, nothing. We are not returning anything. Now I want to make some changes to my code in such a way that the function returns me the number. So how do I do that one? So let us have some modification. Now it returns for me. Okay, the same method we are going to define, but it returns a number. I want to have that. So when I say that it returns a number, then instead of writing it as void, you need to write the what it is going to return. So you want to return a number. I'm passing integers as an argument. I'll ask it to return also integers only. So when I'm asking it to return, then what we do is we use a command. We use a keyword called return. Return A, I'm writing it. Okay. So when I'm asking to do this thing, so I'll ask you to return this. I'll just say return B. Okay. So I want my method to return something. So I'm writing return A and I want to write return B. So when it has to return me A, if A value is greater than B, I'm asking to return A value. Else you're asking to return the B value. Okay. Now remember, when the method is going to return something, now here, so when the method is going to return something, you have to receive the value. You have to receive the value there. Okay. There are two ways of doing things. So you take another variable called z and you put into that one and then print the value. Okay. So I'm just saying biggest. Biggest is equal to plus z I'm writing. Understood? The concept remains same. There is no change. What you call the formal parameter, actual parameter concept doesn't change. Okay. Now it's going to be the same for it. I'll run my code. Now you see it'll ask me the first number. I'll give one number. Second number I'm giving. Now you see it's going to return me the biggest. Now this method, what changes we have made? We have made the changes in such a way that the method returns a value for me. If the method has to return something, then we use a keyword called return. Now remember, whatever the value that is written by the method, so that value you have to receive in the program from where you are calling it. I'm calling my code, my big method, I'm calling it here. So I need to store that value there. Okay, I'll be receiving the value back. So once you call it and you'll get back to this. Understood? Any questions here? Anything that you're not understood?
Already object create చేసి కాల్ చేసుకున్నాను సార్.
Hmm.
కాల్ చేసుకున్నప్పుడు మళ్ళీ తిరిగి కాల్ చేయమని లేదు సార్. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేశాను కదా సార్.
Okay. You tell me the line number where we have created the object.
Read marks object is equal to new.
So in the line number 15, we have created the object. Okay. Next.
ఆల్రెడీ దాంట్లో ఉన్న వాల్యూస్ అనేది ఇంకొక వస్తుంది. మెథడ్ లో ఉన్న రిజల్ట్ కూడా రావాలి.
Can anybody tell me what the question is once again? What is that question he's asking? Now what he says is, we are using that method, right? Big, greet. It is there inside the class. We are getting it using the object. So why don't we get the return value also? No, value it returns that you have to store it or you can print it directly. So either you print, store, get the value and print it, or you can directly print. Either one of the method has to be done. It doesn't mean that I'm calling the method means it will give me the value that automatically it prints it. No, nothing like that. So if it is returning, that has to be stored somewhere or you need to print it. So the first method is what I'm asking to store and then print it. Okay, let's see this. Just the same code we are writing it. So what is the changes we are making now with the return value? So we are having the return value. So we wrote the same thing, right? So we're going to have a return a number with return value. I'm going to write it. Now this is one method you can do it. The another method also we can follow it. So what is another method? So I don't want to store it into the integer and then I want to print. Directly also we can do it. So I'll just call this is out. Okay. Then I'll just say biggest. Directly you can print it. Okay. I need not to have this. So either methods you can do it. So I'll just run this, the first one. Okay. Now you can directly print like this. You can print the value directly like this or store into a variable and then you can print it. Both methods are okay. But when we use the first method means if I'm doing some other processing you want to do, some more calculations you want to do inside your code, then you need to store it and you have to do it. If I'm not doing any calculations, simply this is the method how you do it. Yeah.
Same number.
Which same number?
Comparing.
What you want to confuse your computer?
What it will do?
What it will do? Can you guess what it will do? I'm giving both 12. What will do?
Condition path.
Is it so? Any other guess? Okay. Any other guess? Any guess? Any guess? What will happen if I'm giving both as same number? Okay, before I execute that code, now let us see this, what we are written here. So I'm giving the example 12, 12, right? So now 12 greater than 12 it becomes. So is it 12 greater than 12? No, condition is false. When the condition is false, what will happen? What will happen if the condition is false? What will happen if the condition is false? What will happen if the condition is false? We are not at all using any loops there. If the condition is true, it executes the statement following the if. If the condition is false, it executes the statement following the else. You understand? If the condition is true, it returns A. If the condition is false, we are asking to return B. So 12 is greater than 12? No, condition is false. Then what will happen? It goes to the else part and then it returns me B. Okay? Understood what I said? So let's run. Okay, I think it's already executing, right? So I'm giving 12, 12 I'm giving. So it says B. B is the biggest. Understood? What we are given one condition we are given. So we know that in case of if the condition is satisfied, it executes the statement following the if. If the condition is not satisfied, it executes the statement following the else part for us. So 12 is greater than 12 you are giving. It is false. Then what happened? It executes the statement following the else. Understood? Any questions? Understood now how it's going to work? Right? Clear? Okay. Yeah. So this is how you are going to work with the parameters now. So when I'm going to define the parameters, so generally what will happen is these parameters will help me to do what? To customize things. Okay. These parameters will help me to do the customization of things. Now understood? Everybody understood this? No doubts here? Okay. Now let us go into the reverse process. Now, what is the reverse process now? I want to write a program to get this output now. The output is something like this. Okay. So first it prints me a line like this. Next it says huddle rice. Okay. Then it prints, okay, another line it prints for me. Okay. It says Martha Hardy. Then one more line it prints. Okay. Then it says Bengaluru. Then one more line it prints. This output I want. This is the output I want. So how do you write the code now? మీరు ఏమైనా యూజ్ చేసేసి నాకు అవుట్పుట్ చెప్పాలి. No, this is my output. No, you understand what I'm telling? This is my output. So how do I get this output? So for getting this output, I need to write my code now. So what is that code we are going to write? Let us see now. I'll just go there. I'll remove all these, okay, methods. I'll remove it. What we are written, what we are done and all, I'll just remove this part. Forget about this, what we are written, the methods and all we are written. Okay, this will also I'll remove to avoid the confusion part only. Okay. If I'm having there, it doesn't make any difference for us. So I don't want to have anything. I want to have a clean code. I want to have it. That's why I'm going to use it. So what is the output we want? First line has to be dot, 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 line has to be printed. So to print the dot, dot, dot line, what I'm doing, I'm writing a for loop. I'm writing for x is equal to 1 to x less than or equal to, let us say you want to print 20 dots, you want to print it. So I'm writing for x is equal to 1 to x less than or equal to 20 semicolon x plus plus, I'm writing it. Okay. Then, so I want to print system dot out dot. If I'm using println, what will happen?
Next line.
It will print for me next line. No, I don't want to print in next line. Same line it has to continue. So I'm using print. I'm using it. Okay. So what is that I want to print now? So I want to print the hyphen. That is my hyphen character. Okay. The character hyphen I'm printing. So So let us execute and check. Is it going to get me the line or not first? Then we'll discuss. Yeah, we got the line there. Good. Okay. So next, what I want to print huddle raise. No, okay. I'll just say sys out. Then I'm writing the huddle raise. Okay, let me check again. Okay, is it I'm getting expected results or not? I'm getting or not? I want to verify it. For every step, I'm verifying it. Oh, we are getting it, but otherwise there in the same line. Okay, so what I do is I'll add \n over here. So what is that \n? It's a new line character. That escape sequence character. It will add a new line. And let me execute and check. Good. So we got it as we wanted. Then after that, what I wanted. So if I look into my output, what is that? Okay, next one more line should come. Then Marthahalli, then line, then Bangalore, then line. Okay, understood? See, I'm just trying to make you think something. That we'll discuss one more thing. Like whatever you have the doubts, we'll discuss that doubts. So what I'm doing is I'm copying this code again. This code I'll copy this. Control C, selecting it. Then I'll paste here. So another loop has to be printed for me. Then now what should be there for me? Martha. Okay, I'll just delete this. Right? Okay, again I want to have it. Then what we wanted. So we want to have the same thing. So I want to have the Bengaluru. Okay. Understood? Then we want to have one more. What line has to be printed, but nothing else for me. So let us check we got the output or not for this. Fine. So as expected, we got the output. Yeah. What's your doubt? You want to have a space before the Bengaluru. So wherever you want to have a space, what you can do, \t you can use. So \t is what? It's an escape sequence character, which is going to print me the tab space. It is going to print me the tab space. Okay. So let me execute and check. Is it working as per our requirement? Yes, it is working as per the requirement. It's moving to the right. Okay. You want exactly in the center. Now it becomes difficult for you to find out things now. Now, if you want to put exactly into the center, then so there is another way how we do things that we'll discuss little later. Okay. So right now, let us not confuse with the things. So I want to print what is my output. The simple output I want to have it. This is what my output is. Now comes a question: is it I am getting or not? Is the important thing for me. So I got the output as I wanted. Yeah. Where we are using println? Acha, in line number 9 you're talking about. Oh, sorry, line number 8. Line number 8, I'm using. Okay. Next line print. Okay. Right. Open cheddam mana. So to avoid the confusion, I'll remove the println here. I'll remove the println here. So let us see what is going to come for me the output. What is happening? What is happening? The line next output, whatever is there, it is coming for me continuous. The next output is coming for me continuous. So if I want the next output to go to the next line, then what I have to do? I have to use println here. That is after printing huddle rise, it has to go to the next line for me. So that's why I'm using println there. Before that, there was no new line character. So I'm adding a new line character in the beginning. So where you are using that ln, that next after the next output will go to the next line for us. Getting it? Okay. This is what we have written the code. You understood this? What the code we have written? Any doubts in this one? Okay. So everybody understood, right? Any questions here? No, this is not my code. This is a different code. Okay. Okay, we got the output already. Somebody has sent the output for us. Good, good, good. Okay, good. So it's a lucky 14. So that is also lucky for us. Yeah. You understood now the code? Any questions here? Any questions?
క్లాస్ కి ఉపయోగంగా కూడా మనం స్పేస్ ఇచ్చినా కూడా వస్తుంది కదా ఆ ప్రింటర్
రైట్ ఓకే వస్తుంది రైట్ వస్తుంది నెక్స్ట్ any other questions now what we are doing here mistake can anybody tell me we are doing a mistake here what is that mistake we are doing a mistake here this kind of programming is not suggested now what we did is in the output we wanted 20 dots we wanted so you are written 20 you are written but now let us say you feel that no I don't want 20 hyphens okay I want 30 hyphens to be there I want 30 hyphens to be placed then what you need to do then what you have to do I'm talking about this code what do you want to do now here so x less than or equal to 30 you have to make it how many places I have to make 30 I have to make at 4 different places I have to make if I forget at one place what expected you will not be getting it if I forget to make at one place also what is expected that I'll not be getting it so I don't want to do that method what I do is I'll follow a different method I'll be following it now what I do is this code which is printing me the line this I'll take out of this one okay I'll write it inside my method okay so I'll just say void I'll give a name called line there okay I'll just give a name called line then I'll put the code here okay I'm placing the code over there now I've written the code for line for printing the line so what I do is no I don't want to write the okay loop and all that simply what I do I'll call that method I'll be calling it here yeah I need to create the object of my class then I'll be calling it now let us say if I don't want to create the object and I want to call then we have a way how we can do it so if I don't want to create an object of this class then what you can do is you can write it as static if you don't want to create the object of the class okay I want to call the method directly I want to call it simply what you can do you can just use the method name understood so here also I'm writing it okay so here also I'll just call the method called line here also I'm calling the same thing I'll just call the line here also I'm writing it I'll just format the code right click use the source and that's a format so it's going to give me the format the look will be changed we'll have the pretty look is going to be there okay so let's run the code and check is it the expected output is coming or not yes we are getting the expected output now let us look into the same scenario so I want 30 characters to be printed as hyphen then how many places I have to make change you need to make changes at only one place okay where inside my method I go there now I'll make change only here okay and then so when I'm running it so wherever I'm calling that method it's going to take care of it see is it easy for me to do things than writing that method so here this is better for me right what I'm making change at one place wherever I'm going to use that method it is going to take care of all those things understood if there is no problem what I forget there no, here I'll forget there I'll forget there is nothing see if you're writing thousands of lines of code you're writing now where we have made the changes we don't know if I'm writing the same functionality same things which I'm going to do it instead of writing the code again and again and again what you do you write the code once and you call that code as many number of times you want it you call it so in case of the maintenance part that is if I want to do some changes have to be made I need to make change at only one place I need not to make the changes at thousands of places I need not to do changes understood now that is what the advantage of having the method now okay understood everybody so any questions here now I have another small problem now what is that problem my code is same sorry my output is same now okay but I want to have difference so here I want to have hyphen so here I want to have the tilde symbol I want to have. If you follow the code, so you have any difficulties, let me know. So here I want to have a tilde symbol. Okay, so here I want to have another different method I want to have, different line I want to have. And let us say here I want to have, okay, star I want to have this. So here one more different I want to have it. I don't want this star. Okay, let us say we want to have that same one. Getting it what I'm telling now?
Yes, sir.
So one line should be different, the another line should be different. That is, I want to have different lines I want to have it. Then what you can do? One simple method is what? Define 5-6 methods so that you can have 5 different ways of doing things. Instead of doing that, for example, let us say you are there and I want you to do some work for me. If I want to get a pen for me, I'll tell you get me the pen. Okay, let us say that. I want to get a pencil. So is it necessary to use one more guy to ask me to get the pencil?
No, sir.
Can I ask the same person to get the pencil? Getting it what I'm telling? I'm having one person is there, one of my friend is there. Okay, so I want him to get a pen, right? I'll say, okay, get a pen. So he'll get the pen for me. So I want pencil now. So can I use one more person or the same person can I use?
Same person. But
We can use the same person help we can take and we can get the work done.
yes, sir.
Okay. Now that is what you call customization of the functions. The function I want to work as per my need. Now what we are doing it here, the function, whenever I'm calling the function, what it is doing, it is printing only hyphen, it is printing for me. No, I don't want it to print hyphen for me. One time it should print hyphen for me. One time it should print star symbol. One time it should print me asterisk symbol. One time it should print me double equal to, something like that, different symbols I want to print. Then we are going to do the customization of the function we are going to do it. Now what I do is I'll say, so when I'm calling this function, you use hyphen. Now, when I'm calling this function, you use equal to. Okay, when I'm calling this function, you use the tilde symbol. Okay, so when I'm calling this one, okay, let's use the same hyphen I'm going to use. Now, what I'm doing, I'll define the parameter for this. Okay, parameter I'm defining. I'm passing one single character to that. So I'll say that you take this character and you print that one. So when I want to print that character, instead of printing hyphen, I'll use CH. Getting it? I'm using CH there. Right? Then I run my code. Now let's see. We are getting as expected. We were able to do the customization now. See, I'm using the same function, but I want the function should work slightly different. I want to work. Then what I'm doing, I'm defining a parameter for this one. I'm passing a parameter for this one. Based upon the data that I'm giving it, it is going to work differently for me. Understood? I'm giving some data to my function. Based upon what data is given to the function, it is going to work differently, slightly different. It is going to work for. Done it? Understood now? So, okay. So we use the parameters when you want to have the customization of the function has to be done. So whenever you want some customization, that is you want to have the function should work slightly different. Like what we did previously, we gave number. So 10, 20, we gave it. Every time we call the function, it gave only 10, 20 only it gave for me. I'm using variables, I'm using it, okay, so that it takes some variable, it will be using it, and then it's going to print me the for different values. Like that, so you can have what parameters can be used for the customization of the functions can be done. Understood? Okay. Now, can we customize this one also, the line, the characters? I don't want every time 30 characters only. I want to have different number of characters. Can we have that? Different lines I want.
Variable ga తీసుకొని ఆ 30 ని parameters లో పెట్టి మార్చేస్తాను.
Understand what I'm doing? So I'm having this 30 is there. 30 I don't want it. Sometimes I want 40, sometimes I want 30, sometimes I want 10, 20, like the different numbers I want to have it. Then that also can be given as a parameter. Okay, I'll take int, one more parameter I'll define for it. I'll say n. So that n is less than or equal to n. I am writing it here. So when I'm calling the function now here, first time I want 100, let us say. The second time when I'm calling it, let us say I want to have only 50. The third time I want to have, okay, some, again 100 I want. So the next I'm calling it, okay, let us say I want to have some 30, I want to have it. Understood now what I have done? So we are trying to have the customization of the things we are going to do it. So based upon your requirement, either it will take 30 characters or 40 characters or 100 characters, how many characters you want it, we can get it printed. So I'm using now that also I've done the customization. I don't want to have anything, that number should be constant. I want to have change in it. I'll pass a value for it. It takes a value. Then based upon it, it is working for me. Understood now? So this is my output. This is my output. So for this output, I'm writing the code now. So
ప్రింట్ చేసే మనం టేబుల్ ప్రింట్ చేసేది కూడా మెథడ్ రాయొచ్చు.
this is what I have done it. Now still we can do the modifications. Yes, we can have the always the code improvisation can be done, right? No, I don't want like this. Okay, so I want everything should be done on same line, same function. I want to do it. So along with the function, so I want to pass the value also. For example, what we did here, we are passing the header raise as a different function, right? I mean, we are calling it a function. No, I don't want to that want to be done. So what I can do, I can give character, number of characters, and then what the message you want to print. That also I want to give as an argument. Yes, that also can be done. Understood what I'm telling? That also can be done. You can define multiple ways of doing things. Understood? One more parameter can be defined where I give that header raise as an argument for that one. It prints my header raise. If I'm giving Marthali, it will print Marthali as an argument. If I'm printing Bangalore, if I'm giving Bangalore as an argument, it prints my Bangalore there. Understood? So like that, you can do the customer functions can be, you can have improvisation of the functions can be done. Any questions? Any doubts for you? Okay. Any more questions?